see to work. Get more done. Unlock more time. More money. And more freedom.
Join us as we explore the challenges and power of making work visible. Welcome to the Visible Workplace Podcast with Dr. Tom Rolley.
Now, let's get into today's episode. Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of Visible Workplace. My name is Dr. Tom Rolley and thank you so much for joining me. We are continuing, in fact, concluding a 6-week exercise that we have been on looking at the tools of the Warrior's Way. This Warrior's Way was a review of these 4 tools and a mindset that make up the ability to get extreme results in reduced amounts of time. And over the previous 5 weeks, if you haven't listened to those, I encourage you to go back and check those out, because we looked in week 1 at a foundational overview across all of the aspects of the Warrior's Way. And then for the last 4 weeks, a deep dive specifically into the code, into the door, into the game, and into the stack last week. But this week, we are looking at the conversation of the core. Now, the core is a very interesting topic because this was where it all began for Warrior. Garrett, the founder of the Warrior's Way and Wake Up Warrior, discovered an interesting thing. He noticed that when he did certain things in the morning, he had more power. And the core is a discussion around 2 things. Essentially, one of them is power. How do I get power in my life? How do I use that power effectively is dealt with what we've been through in the previous 4 weeks. That is the door, the game, and the stack. But having the ability to have the power to get things done comes down to how much energy have I got? How much physical stamina have I got? How clean am I in my thinking? How confident am I in my abilities? How are my abilities? And what are my relationships like? And all of these factors were found to go into the ability to get things done on that day. And when they were done, there was more ability to get things done. Now, that sounds strange. It's like, well, hang on. What are we doing in the morning that's going to allow us to get things done in the afternoon or during the day? Well, this is the core. And at one level, it's a discussion about power. And at another level, it is about the discussion of habits. And an interesting thing happens around habits, that when human beings, myself, and you execute things on a regular basis, then we get better at them, which is really cool. It's like, oh, hey, I'm going to work out every day. And over time, what will happen is my body will adapt. I may lose weight. I may increase flexibility. I may increase muscle mass. I may even increase my skill sets, for me personally, to be able to surf, which has happened. It's a miracle. It's absolutely incredible. After a long time, like 15 years of attempting to surf, finally got it because of an interesting thing happened. Instead of going once a week or once every fortnight, my son got into it and he was rabid, like he loves surfing. And instead of going once a week, once a fortnight, I started getting dragged along to go once every 2 days, or sometimes multiple times per work, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times per week. Wasn't the only thing that I was doing, but in practicing surfing that much, I got better at it. And this is across all of the aspects of life. By practicing something daily, a habitual experience, we get better. And it's not just in the area of fitness or in our bodies, but also in other things as well. In our mindset, in our meditation, in our skill sets, in our learning, in our relationships, all of these can benefit from the habituation of the execution of those skill sets on the daily. Now, this has a downside because every day it resets. It's like, oh my goodness, tomorrow I'm back to zero. But there's a funny thing that happens. It's kind of like overnight we go to sleep and everything gets reset anyway. But then there's this opportunity in the morning to go, okay, yep, what can I do? I'm going to get myself in power. And the process that Warrior came up with was called the core, or specifically the core 4. Why is it called the core 4? Well, it deals with the 4 major aspects of life: body, being, balance, and business. Body, obviously, being our physical aspects of our body. Being our spirituality that can be looked at on one hand with meditation and how clear is my mind. And on another hand is like my relationship with the universe and purpose, my being. What am I human being here doing? Or how am I being? Doesn't make much sense. But the idea here is that there is some kind of mental or spiritual relationship going on the daily. Then there's my relationships. For me, my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my kids, my relationship with my family, my relationship with my colleagues, my relationship with my friends, all of these relationships that are going on. And what condition are they in? Can they be invested in, preferably daily? Yes or no? And if they can be, then maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's kind of like a bank, a virtual bank of relationship that by investing into others, then should I need to make a withdrawal and say, hey, I'm in trouble, or hey, I'm trying to achieve this, do you know anyone? Then there is a credit. I suppose it's a credit of goodwill. I'm struggling with the words. I'm like, deficit keep coming. No, it's not a deficit. It's a credit of goodwill that can be withdrawn and extracted and say, hey, I need some help here. And that is available because I've made investments into those people that are important to me in my world. And then finally, on the category of business, well, business might be around, do I know what to do? And what can I learn? Can I read? Can I study? Can I become more knowledgeable in order to execute? And then can I share that? Can I give some of that learning to others so that we're leveraging, I'm giving away what I've learned and potentially receiving from others who've learned different things so that we can all grow faster. And this concept of the core 4 across body, being, balance, and business executed on the daily led to 2 things. One is having enough power for the day to get things done, but also over time, a exponential increase that happens by investing into these 4 areas each day. That I benefit from yesterday's work and the day before that and the day before that, and then turning up today. It's not just a fresh start. I'm not starting from scratch. I've already made a long series of small investments that start to compound on themselves, eventually not only giving me power for the day, but giving me a much bigger power bank to operate from. And in that, be able to take on things that were previously not possible. So this is a powerful conversation, this conversation of the core 4 executed daily. And the problems that it deals with are a couple. Number one, well, production takes power. I want you to consider like a car. I drive an Amarok, and it's got a V6 diesel, but it's that engine hooked up to that vehicle is very powerful. It can carry things. It's a highly useful vehicle. But if I put in an engine that was much smaller into that same vehicle, then it's going to struggle. It's not going to have as much grunt, not going to have as much power. And we could take this to the extreme where we pull the engine completely out of the vehicle, and then it becomes irrelevant how much power that engine's got. It's completely disconnected from getting anything done. And then we could put a small engine into a big vehicle and it's going to struggle. It's not going to have enough power. And then we could put a powerful engine in the vehicle and it's going to have enough power to get things done. So the conversation here is that production in life, in business, takes power. Next up, that we can easily run into one of 2 problems. One is that we're inconsistent in our execution, and secondly, that we can make it overly complex. So inconsistent means I did it today, I did it tomorrow, then I missed 3 days, then I did a day, then I did 2 days, and then I missed 3 more days. It's inconsistent. And the benefits of the compounding fall away. Or on the other hand, making it overly complex and it's going to take up 4 hours, 5 hours of my morning to get anything done. And I don't benefit from learning and becoming more skillful in a particular skill set over time. So both of these can be problems. Number one, inconsistency. Number two, overly complex. Next up, well, we've got not sure how to start the day. Like, how do you even start your day right now? Do you have a routine? Are there things that have to be done that you choose to get done? Perhaps you don't. Perhaps you just wake up and take whatever's happening. But that may not be the most strategic of choices. And there's a very interesting conversation here around, well, do I work on my fitness and my meditation and my relationships and my skill sets, or do I just get to work? And I think that this can be handled in a particularly interesting way. One side is Garrett J. White and one side is Alex Hormozi. If you're not familiar with these guys, then I encourage you to look them up. They're both very good internet marketers, but the difference is that Garrett has got 5 kids and a wife, and Alex is married but no kids. And that may not sound like that very much of a significance unless you have children, in which case you know just how different that is. That the sustainability of getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning and pushing through to finish at 5 p.m. without children might well be able to be done on a consistent basis. And the production that comes from that outweighs any of the investments into having to put into relationship or meditation. But add in marriage and kids, and suddenly this trifecta of insanity, this was coined by Garrett, that business plus marriage plus kids is the trifecta of insanity, that suddenly the ability to clear my head, the ability to meditate, the ability to work out on the daily becomes far more beneficial, let alone the investments into my wife, into my children, to let them know that I care about them. Because there are many traps for men particularly that just work and work and work. They're out the door at 6 a.m. They were showing up back in the house at 9 p.m. The kids are asleep. They have no relationship with them. And that is no good. That is sad. That's like, oh dear, this doesn't work. And finally, we've got an issue of tracking. If you don't track these things, then it's very easy to pretend that they got done. Versus when you track, you know that they got done. And it's possible to look back at the end of the week and say, well, hey, how did I do? Oh, I got a score. I got a score by tracking. But if I do it in my head, then I am at risk of bullshitting myself, of making stuff up and pretending. And this tracking skill is just one of the other habits. There is a certain dopamine experience that happens when I click the button and say, yeah, I did that. I did that. I did that. And sometimes when I've not been feeling great, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do the first thing. I'm just going to do a meditation, click the button. And amazingly, what will happen is this desire for completion kicks in, and I will then proceed to execute on the rest of the core 4. And this happened. This actually did I managed to do this quite successfully with a streak of 182 days. For 182 days in a row, completed core 4, tracked it, until one day, on the 182nd day, I came home and I looked in the fridge and there was a green smoothie. One of the aspects of the core 4 is drink a green smoothie. And whether the health benefits are there or whatever, I don't really care. What I do think it does is consolidates execution on the daily. So, hey, drink a green smoothie, whatever. Okay, great. It's a bit like walking across the bridge and dropping a stone in. It's not the stone. It's not the green smoothie. It's the consistency. And I came home and I opened the fridge and there it was, the green smoothie that hadn't been drunk the day before. I was like, damn, missed it. And that was the end of the streak. So at this point, you might be wondering, well, what is this core for? Well, I'm glad you asked. It is, oddly enough, a series of 8 tasks, which is pretty funny because it's called the core 4, but in fact, there's 8 things. Each of the 4 categories has 2. Body has 2, being has 2, balance has 2, and business has 2. Each worth half a point, giving a total point score for the day of 4. Let's break them down a little bit more detailed. In body, we've got half a point for fitness. Did I train? Did I sweat? Did I stretch? Did I have sex? Well, it depends how long you lasted, perhaps, but you can make your own call around whether sex counts. This could be an hour weightlifting where you are sweating. And on the other point, this could be a walk. This could be flexibility. But as long as something got done with the body that day, you get a half a point for fitness. Then a half a point for the green smoothie. Get some greens in. I personally like banana, avo, lime juice, ginger, and some spinach. It's my go-to. Chuck in some mint. It's pretty good. I like it. Small amount of green smoothie each day, half a point. Next up, we move into the category of being. And being comes down to meditation and memoirs. Meditation, doesn't matter which one. Can it be sitting cross-legged, breathing in, breathing out? Absolutely. Can it be guided? Absolutely. Can it be music? Absolutely. As long as there is a single point of focus. You're focusing on one thing. And for those of you who have not meditated and you're fearful of it, well, I'd encourage you to give it a go. It has been a critical part of my self-management for the last, 17 years. I believe I first learned my favorite go-to meditation called Turtle Longevity Qigong First Form. Quite a mouthful, but very simple, 3-part moving meditation. Turtle Longevity Qigong First Form. You can look it up on YouTube. It is an extremely powerful meditation. It was my go-to in my darkest moments through COVID, through all the challenges that I've had. This meditation is the one that I would choose if I could only have one. Turtle Longevity First Form. There's 4 of the turtles: second form, third form, fourth form. But to get started, if you don't have a meditation, check out First Form, Turtle Longevity Qigong. And then memoirs. So back in the day when I first got into Wake Up Warrior, this was literally writing in a journal, and we used that for a long time. I would document my day. Hey, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on. And then it evolved, and Wake Up Warrior brought out the software, the stack. And this was a series of questions, and that counts as the memoirs. We looked at that last week, the stack. And so half a point for meditating, half a point for completing the stack. Into balance. Now, balance is a really interesting one. It's an investment into people around me, letting them know that I appreciate them, that I love them, that I respect them, that I honor them, that I'm grateful for them. And physically writing a message or sending an audio or sending a video and saying, hey, I care about you. Half a point. Half a point for person 1, half a point for person 2. Might be my wife, might be my kids, might be my siblings, might be my mum, might be teammates, might be colleagues, might be someone I played tennis with. Hey, thank you so much. Love that game. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming out. And then we come to this final category of business. Half a point for discover. What's discover? Discover means do some reading, do some learning, learn something new. This has been highly effective to cover many, many, many books using this methodology, just reading a little bit each day and then writing about what did I discover and how does it apply to my life. Extremely powerful. Can it be done for seminars and webinars? Absolutely. Can it be done for YouTubes? Yes, it can. You can learn from all of these mechanisms, document it and incorporate it into your life to make you a better person. Perhaps that's around skill sets in business, but it could be around parenting. It could be around spirituality. It could be around fitness and learning about the body. All of these learnings could count. And then finally declare, sharing it with somebody. I personally use this as, did I post my writings for the day? And you can check those out on LinkedIn. And that's why writing each day, Did I right? Yes, half a point. And so when we combine all of these 8 things for half a point each, we end up with a total of 4 points. 4 points each day gives 7 days in the week, a total of 28. A total available points for the core of 28 points. And this gamification is very powerful. If we also have points for other aspects of the Warrior's Way, 21 for the door, 4 for the game, and 7 for the stack, then you end up with a total potential for each week of 60. And those men and women who've discovered the power of hitting a 50, a 51, a 55, a 59, a 60 for the week know that those weeks are powerful weeks. A lot gets done. At minimum, we know that if you scored 60, not only did you stack 7 times, you also got 28 in the core. You executed 21 hits, including opening the door, and all of your impossible games are on track. That is a man or a woman on fire. And their exponential growth becomes very certain. And that's why the Warrior's Way is often called a science. It's the art and science that if you consistently execute on these things, then the inevitable growth becomes inevitable. It's like, oh, okay, all the things, if these things got done, you are going to expand your world. So that brings us to the end of this episode. The core, or the core 4, which is actually 8 things each day, but the opportunity to create the power for you to get things done in your life, as well as leverage the exponential growth that comes from habitual execution each and every day. Hope you got some value out of this series. If you want to loop back and pick it up again, we began 5 weeks ago with the overview. We dropped into the code, then the door, the game, the stack, and then finally today, the core. Thank you so much for joining me on the Visible Workplace. We will return to more magic boards and making work visible from next week. But I hope you have got a lot of value out of this. If you want more information, then head over to systemio.dev and click products, and you can see both the Stack app and the full Warrior's Way app available there. Or if you want to go directly to the source, go check out Garrett at www.wakeupwarrior.com. Thanks so much for joining me on today's episode. Look forward to seeing you next week as we continue this journey into making work visible. I'll see you then.
Thanks for tuning into the Visible Workplace podcast. Subscribe for more productivity tips and share with friends. We love your feedback, so please rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform. For more tips and tools, visit www.magicboards.io. Thanks again, and see you next episode. Disclaimer: the information and ideas discussed in this episode are general in nature and do not take into account your specific circumstances. You should seek specialist advice for any medical, financial, emotional, mental, or other difficulties that you are facing with appropriate specialists and professionals so that they can apply your specific circumstances and give you the required advice.